Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, wishing you a peaceful Saturday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland, bright and sunny, and I just got my morning walk in, feeling good, so it's time to talk about some good old magic internet money business. Anyways, Ethereum hitting the $28, $50 target, Bitcoin I should probably be more bullish on, and we do have not just the new monthly, but also the bi-monthly closure to talk about, so higher term time frame is going to be a big focus for Bitcoin today, and how this actually changes things, because Bitcoin basically got probably the best monthly closure that I could have asked for yesterday, assuming the prior conditions. Anyways, with that said, let's go focus on the Krown chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. What do we see over here? We do see Bitcoin dominance popping up about 1% as Bitcoin does travel to the top side of the high term time frame range. More or less good there, as it does still imply that we are in a rotational market. And if Bitcoin does want to break above or below the top or bottom of this range, it's very likely to be L received by most alt Bitcoin parents. Now, alt US dollar parents are very likely to follow in whatever direction Bitcoin goes. And in this case, things are sprucing up to be rather good long term. Anyways, fear and greed index right now at a 68, so we are popping back up rather aggressively from, I believe, last week's lows at about 27. And also on open interest, we do see something very, very good going on over here too. We see it go up nearly $1 billion over the last few days, from about 9 billion base to about nearly 10 billion right now, and that is within the context of Bitcoin essentially bouncing off the low term, or sorry, not the low term, but the high term time frame bottom side range, and now pretty much all the way at the top side. Although technically speaking, I'd say that's more like 60,000 bucks, but we'll save that for the actual charts themselves. Anyways, top 10 best coins, top 10 worst coins. We got Digibyte. What the fuck? That thing's still alive? Man, I haven't heard this one called out in, it's got to be 2 years, since 2018. Doggy Coin, once again, a big winner. OKB, Avalanche, Ren, Swissborg, Compound, Verge, Phantom, Ethereum Classic. You know, it's crazy. I really, my only exposure to altcoins, and I mean, like, obviously no trading exposure, but like just like literal exposure is through looking at this list over here and looking at this list over here, and then obviously the live streams when people ask about them. It's fucking hilarious to me that Doggy Coin is probably the most consistent in the top 10 winners coin for like the last, I don't know, it's got to be 3, maybe even 4 weeks. Looking fucking good. Anyways, on the other side, we got Polygon, PancakeSwap, Clayton, what the fuck? KuCoin Token, Terra USD, yeah, a bunch of stable coins right here. It's really not any big, not a whole hell of a lot of losers, as we do already get into the stable coins already at about like number 5 or 4. Anyways, crazy shit there. Let's go into the market data tab, see what we got. And again, yes, you can see the open interest chart overlaid with price action chart, and this is exactly what we want to be seeing long term, of course, curving out of that last prior low right here. And admittedly, of course, this is a lower low, yes, but do we have a change in structure just yet? Well, we don't have our lower high just yet either. So a bit more patience, or is this time to be bullish on Bitcoin, like looking for a new trending move right here, or is it time to be patient? Anyways, funny rate is slowly moving up, not anything too crazy there. And of course, when we do dig into the minutia, it's really FTX that's all the way out there. And as I've been saying for like this last week, when the funny rates are low, or especially negative, and Bitcoin's, you know, on the low side of its range after playing out one of those, you know, 20 to 30% downside moves, then it is more likely that we do see this kind of grind its way up. And I believe that's what we're seeing right now. And I would be looking for that to probably continue a little bit more until we see some, you know, majority of these exchanges get above at least 0.05 and preferably above 0.1 for judging like major highs. In this case right now, we do still see Bitcoin more or less range on the higher term timeframes, but this range is starting to look better and better as the days pass. Anyways, I think we've kind of nailed everything that we want to talk about here. It's just green across the board as far as open interest, global market cap, and alt market cap go. Jesus Christ, man, I need to take a sip of this water. So enjoy the sweet sounds of my water drinking ASMR, sirs. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get into it. Let's start off with Ethereum today so that I can talk about something that I got fucking right. Actually, Bitcoin, we'll get to that soon enough. And there is a lot of things going on with Bitcoin that we'll focus on soon enough. But I think Ethereum right now making new all-time highs in price discovery mode at 28.50 is looking pretty damn good. I would perhaps be looking for a little bit of a short-term, medium-term pullback from this region, as this was more or less a long-term target region that we had set out for probably like the last few months past, right around here. Actually, this would be a more muted extension if you are taking this as the base using closures. And in this case, you'd actually look at this one as already resolved and looking at this one go for a straight shot to about 3,000 bucks. It looks like we're actually 3,100. I do not pay attention to the 3-spot extension right here, except for extremely short-term moves. But if we go over to my other charts over here, I do believe that I have it charted out slightly different in this case. And yes, I do. I got, and in this case, I'm actually using Wix, it looks like. And in this case, we do see that we are actually brushing up against the 3-spot 618 great. As it stands right now, let's actually go to a daily look on this one. And so I would be looking for maybe a little bit of a short-term, medium-term pullback from this region. Ultimately, though, do I think that Ethereum's stopping right here? Absolutely not. In fact, this one, if Bitcoin got a good monthly close, let's say that this one got a phenomenally impressive monthly close and bi-monthly close by extension. Anyways, more importantly, on the daily right here, we're going to have a chance to close above the topside Toronto band once again today at the end of the day. And that is currently coming in around 28.50. I do want to see how that would change things. We put on our little info box over here, the test price. There we go. Lovely. Anyways, yes, so that actually extend things a little bit more, keep it in the continuation posturing, and it would bring our basis up to about 24.40, which would actually be rather interesting just because this is starting to edge its way up above the breakout. And that is really where things start to look a lot better for me, for like a, very, 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 very strong trading move like presently happening, which right now we're getting there. And to be honest, I don't think that this thing is anywhere near done, to be honest with you, over the next couple of months here. The reason why I say that is because if we go over here to the monthly, what do we see? Once again, it closed above the topside Toronto band with flying colors. And this is, well, that's about as good as you can ask for right there. Anyways, I should denote that the topside Toronto band right now on the monthly is coming in right below $2,500. Now, as we identified over the past few months with Bitcoin, anytime that you do kind of close above it, it's going to be reactive to current price action. So one of two ways that you can come back down and test it. Although this one doesn't have as good of a history of Bitcoin, just like in its totality. And also we do see one iteration right here where it actually did not technically touch to the downside. But I would be looking for a range anytime this month. If it did come down to about 2,500-ish region or 2,550, I'd be looking at that as a major opportunity first and foremost. So I do like that for a basin area long term. We can also put this on the bi-monthly as well, seeing as we just got a new one this month. And what do you know? That's a little bit lower, but obviously, given that we do have 2 months to kind of fill this out, this can be pulled up quite a fair bit, and still $2,500 would be rather reasonable, but really not a good history on this one, to be fair. Anyways, so we'll go back to the weekly for a second, and the weekly is gonna have a chance to, by the way, close above the topside Toronto band, and that would indicate to myself that this trend, this phase of the next extension of this trend, is just beginning. As you do see back and over here, as you do see back and over here, as you do see back over here. This one not as impressive, obviously, because this was still within the context of an accumulation phase, but several examples back in 2017 right here, and more recently in 2017, December 2017 right there. Anyways, this would actually be the first read outside of the topside Toronto band for the last 2 months. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, about 2 months here. So fair enough on that one. And this would, again, make me massively bullish on Ethereum. In fact, I am still massively bullish on Ethereum, and I'm even more bullish on the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing here long term. Looking for this one to still head up to about 6 million Satoshis probably over the next few months, and then maybe even extension to about 8.5 million Satoshis. I mean, it looks fucking good, man. This is a multi-year long accumulation phase. Have to respect that. Anyways, okay, cool. So is there anything else I want to talk about maybe on the short-term time frames for Mr. Buteral? Yeah, again, maybe a short-term time frame pullback here, but ultimately I would be looking for Ethereum to make its way into the $3,000 region. And where's the next area of interest to the upside on Mr. Buteral? And I'm actually inclined to say that it's the closing prices here that is going to produce the better extension for relevant prices to the upside. And let's bring this baby down, and there we go. There's my next blue box of interest. We'll say 30. What is this, about 3150 to 3250-ish region? We just kind of round that up, but overall, somewhere around about 3300-ish region is where I'd be looking towards, and very likely a greater pullback from that region, as that is a much bigger one than the one that we're currently breaking out of right now. But overall, that would imply, quite the move from here, as we are currently trading about 2850-ish region, and overall, I would be, just generally be looking at the direction. We also do see hidden bullish evidence coming out of this last base. Obviously, that one was identified actually about a week ago now. Yeah, 24th of April, funnily enough, but still, it's still kind of playing through. And again, I want to follow up on these signals for people who have been tuning this content for a while now, just so that you can see how they operate over a period of time. And then what happens after that? New all-time fucking highs. Lovely. Anyways, let's get on to Bitcoin now, because Bitcoin is, Bitcoin is the one coin to rule them all. Orange coin good. And let's check it out right on over here. Okay, so first and foremost, I actually do want to talk about a couple of bullish things that could make me look for continuation out of this current base coming into this next week of price action, actually. And it'd be this: if Bitcoin does close above last week's high, which is 5760 sorry 57,633, then I would be looking at this as hidden bullish divergence over here. In fact, it is hidden bullish divergence here. 1 2 3 drives, a very strong variety, pretty much around your all-time high after bouncing off what would be considered the 21. In this case, a bit of a front run right there. If this does get confirmed by tomorrow night 8 p.m. Eastern time, as that is our weekly closure, then yes, that'd look pretty damn good. Good thing is, though, is that we've already seen CMEs close for the week, as they did close yesterday, Friday. And where did they close? They actually did close, or actually did they close? Hold on, we see high price over here, 57,750 versus closing price right here, 57,315. So no, did not close above the high of that one. Technically speaking, not confirmed as hidden bullish divergence just yet. Now, could this confirm as hidden bullish divergence coming into next week? Yep, it could. It very well could. What I'd be looking for is I'd still be looking for kind of the same thing. Head above, not this prior week, but the week prior to that right here on the 19th of April. If we can take out that high, yes, extremely likely, then you're just going to get a full-on gap fill my gap, baby, all the way up to $60,000 as you, as the meme in this market goes. But ultimately, as we've denoted, this area actually is exactly within the area that I am, well, rather skeptical of price action. If we put on our drawing tools over here, we marked off this area. Hey, motherfucker. Whoops. Let's go to this one. There we go. This is the area that we marked off coming into this week, saying, hey, if Bitcoin's going to put in a bull trap, it very likely happens within this region right here between the 0.5 and the 618. And that is quite literally where we're at right now. If we look at where CME closed, actually on the 4 hour, it did close right at the 200 simple, which, would I be looking for a little bit of a short-term pullback based upon that when CME opens up? Probably yes. But ultimately, what I want to talk about is the more bullish things on the very high term time frames, because things actually have changed with the advent of this last monthly and bi-monthly. And it's actually going to massively change my basing for price action now too. Well, I wouldn't say massively. It changes it from $45,000 to about 49 or 50,000 bucks. Is that a humongous change? I don't know about that. Depends on your predispositions, but in my opinion, that in this case, we still do have that lower low right here, which does make this problematic for myself as a long-term trade. Well, as a wow, I just fucking said it. I'm a long-term trader. Holy shit. I'm a hodler, baby. I'm an investor. No, just kidding. I still do, I still do trade those positions, obviously, but I'm more or less looking for the trending move right now, because, it's once every few years that you get one of these massive Bitcoin boolah just runs. So I'd like to participate in that rather than be trading on the very short-term time frames. Not that I'm saying that you can't do it. There's several people in our Discord specifically who are doing a phenomenal job at just that. But for myself, I want to kind of take a little bit of a backseat and try to learn how to be happy with staying in positions for a while. Anyways, in this case right here, again, we do still see that this does obviously have a lower low. Yes. And in this case, where would our lower high condition be? Well, I mean, in my opinion, technically speaking, anywhere below the 786 is where your lower high is going to, is obviously going to be a lower high. It's not saying anything too crazy right there. But the problem is that typically speaking, once you get above the 618, the chances of you putting in a bull trap between there and the 786 diminishes significantly. So I would be very, very confident in saying, especially if this happened over the regular trading week, that if Bitcoin did close above the top side of this current area, the 618, that is about 58,300 exactly, that is what we have it at right now, then I would be looking at that as very unlikely to play out a bull trap. And if Bitcoin does come back down, extremely likely Bitcoin basis somewhere around 50,000 bucks, give or take $1,000 or $2,000. The reason why I say that is because if we go over here to the monthly, which we can bring up right now, we can see that the topside Toronto band has once been closed above, and this is for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th month in a row. Obviously, at some point, this condition is not going to be made, but typically speaking, my rule is kind of keep myself in these long-term trades is to, well, essentially play it long in trending format as long as it's closing above the top side, as you do see back and over here too. Let's go to a more long form chart. There we go. Lovely. And you can see the same thing over here, and obviously 2016 to 2017 over here, and then more recently on this tip over here. Anyways, at some point, obviously this will not work, and 7 months in a row is pretty impressive, to be fair. Very impressive. But at the end of the day, until it actually does get broken in this case, I don't really have a reason to front run that decision. And now that we have one massive long-legged doji dildo right here on last month's closure, coming in for April, we can have both continuation point to the upside and the downside. And to the downside, obviously going to be the low of last month. That's 47,000 bucks on stamp. That would imply prices much lower in this case, probably down just below 40,000 bucks. Still looking at 39,000 as a general target if that condition is met. Question is, does that condition actually get met? Because what I'm going to show you next is going to maybe be suggestive that it does not. Anyways, but before we get into that, obviously if we take out last month's high, which is 64,895, spot 22 on Bitstamp as well, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to generally work its way towards 70 or 80, or yeah, what was it exactly? I think it was like between 70 and 80,000, something like that. We can talk about targets maybe a little bit later, but overall, it's still a little bit further away. And to be quite honest with you, I actually do not think that Bitcoin's ready to move just yet, even though I am starting to switch around my views on the fact that it could come back down below that $45,000 number. Anyways, looking at this right here, I do want to bring up the accumulation distribution indicator, the net delta indicator, and very, very simply put, it did lessen its curvature right here, obviously, which is indicative that Bitcoin could go into a more sideways consolidation right here. But at the end of the day, it did remain with its positive slope. That's what matters most for macro trend. The slope severity of that speaks more towards the inherent, like the more immediate bullishness of this. So in this case right here, I do look at this more or less as a signal that Bitcoin probably still trades within the $50,000 to $60,000 range, probably this month. And I'll provide some more data on that soon enough. But looking at this right here, I do still think that that's more or less likely. And if we bring this over to the bi-monthly as well, or actually before we do that, it should be denoted that actually there's a lot of very interesting stuff here, to be fair. Monthly MACD did retain its increasing of momentum, which is really fucking impressive. And the ADX is continuing with its upslope here too. Now, to be fair, we do have this trend line coming in from the last few peaks on the ADX, and this is your 2013 highs, your 2014 highs, and your 2017 highs. Yes, but that would still imply, if that's going to play out, that would imply well, some more up in this case. And the DMI plus is obviously dominant, very, very well above the threshold. But in this case, admittedly, it does have a negative slope. So I do see kind of a disagreement between the two right now. But I do still look at this as more or less a long-term good thing. Again, I've been saying this for a long time. Even if I do think that Bitcoin could come back down to like $45,000, let's say, I'm not saying that the macro top is in. That is not something that I've ever said this whole goddamn run, and I won't until we get, at the very least, a weekly reversal, to be fair. But for right now, I do think that if we go over to the bi-monthly, there's some pretty interesting stuff going on here as well. Anyways, the bi-monthly has the same sort of, signature available to it that we saw on the monthly with closing above the top side shoulder band and then maintaining that trend. Now, here's the thing. We really don't have too many iterations with this, but it's the same sort of knowledge as what you look at it and use it for typically on other time frames when looking for those trending moves. In this case right here, we do see coming out of 2016 all the way to 2018, it did fulfill that condition. In fact, not just fulfill that condition, but it even went for a backfill on just about every bi-monthly close, going all the way from November breakout to your $20,000 high. Now, of course, over here, have we done the backfill on these first two right here? No, absolutely not. And even this one, did this one actually close above? I believe it did. No, just under, but pretty fucking close right there. These ones obviously did, and then this one actually did even close a little bit above. But more importantly, right now, the top side trailing band is coming in where? It's coming in at actually $42,000. Now, naturally speaking, as we've been saying, if this does take off from here, this will be pulled up. No shit. Let me actually. It actually might be because I have this very low price in right now. Oh yeah, let's actually just take this off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's going to look a lot better. So this is what it really looks like right now, just by the way. And if we go back to the monthly for a second too, I think it'd be relevant to do that. The monthly is already kind of testing the top side shoulder band in this case, to be fair. Anyways, make sure that if you're using the test price for that, you actually have to have like a test price on that's relevant to the current price action. When I'm using it for Mr. Buterel's price action at 28.50, it's going to bastardize this right here. Anyways, more importantly with this, we do see that the bi-monthly is coming in where? It's coming in right around at the low $50,000 region, not $41,000. I knew that was wrong because I checked it earlier, and 50,000, it's just above $50,000 right here. Do I think that Bitcoin can come back down and tag $50,000? Yes. And this is why I still am a bit hesitant to get like full on bullish for this asset right now. I do think that Bitcoin very likely resolves this whole formation to the upside, but does it come back down to, somewhere around $50,000, maybe even just below $50,000 to that $48,000 low once again before further tries to the upside? I think that's actually rather likely sometime this month, in fact. Anyways, going back on over here, let's check out momentum oscillators as well. And these still look more or less good over the long period of time. We do see that bi-monthly MACD maintains its increase in momentum, which again, very, very impressive. But this run, I mean, you know, when you look at it from a bi-monthly perspective, it does look a lot more young in its in its lifespan. Anyways, the bi-monthly ADX DMI, not really getting too much from this, to be fair, but you know, would still remain in a more or less bullish posturing. And obviously the SMI is going to be absolutely moon mode there too, but you know, it is by month and we don't have a whole hell of a lot of history here, so we can't read into it too much. Anyways, my point is that, yes, do I think that Bitcoin will ultimately, you know, work its way onwards and upwards from here? Yes, I do think so. Does Bitcoin have some capped downside right here? Yeah, I don't think that Bitcoin goes below 45,000 bucks in the next 2 months, to be honest with you, unless we see like a real reversal. But I don't think that we're seeing that right now. I think that Bitcoin trades sideways for a little bit and then still tries some upside. And then what I also want to show is I want to go back to the monthly over here. And another reason why I'm not necessarily like, you know, fully just like gung-ho, balls to the fucking walls, boolah-ish, buy everything exactly right now. And the reason why is for something that we showed yesterday, in fact. And let me just make sure I'm recording, the microphone's working. Okay, that's good. And we'll bring up, where is it? The good old hash ribbons. Where's my hash ribbons at? Mr. Charles Caprioli, where are you, sir? Sir? There you are, found it. And by the way, all these indicators are free and you can find them on TradingView. All right, so what we're going to focus on right now is this hash ribbons indicator. It's basically a more fundamentally based indicator, one of the few fundamental indicators that I do reference. And then another thing that I need to remember to bring up from Mr. Shubbo from the Discord. Anyways, you do see it's a pretty damn simple, simplistic indicator in the way that you interpret it. Although the underlying conditions are a lot more involved, obviously. Anyways, what typically happens, or what always happens, is that you get a capitulation signal first. That's what happens when you get this cross between these two moving parts, and then later on you get this blue buy signal. And as you can see, if you do overlay that with price action and bring this, can I do this on a week? I don't think I can do this on a weekly. Yeah, it actually still does work on a weekly, which is funny, but yeah, this is gonna look a little bit more right here on a daily. Or no, hold on. I believe these might be even the same. Anyways, I don't have time to figure that out right now, but because it's not even relevant to the conversation. Anyways, first and foremost, yes, we did get a capitulation signal on the 24th of April on that downside move. Interesting, but if you backtest it, which I'm actually going to get rid of the accumulation distribution indicator right there, but if you backtest it, all of these signals within the context of a macro bullish market have never been reversals, obviously. I mean, that's the definition of a bullish market, but more importantly, the buy signal that they produce on the other side times somewhat well the next major move to the upside. So let me give you a few examples so you can see for yourself, and then you can decide for yourself and just say that Krown is a curly-headed fuck and he should shut up, or maybe this is interesting. Anyways, looking at this right here, we do get the buy signal right here, right? Bitcoin was going through about a month and a half long to 2 month long consolidation just below $20,000 all-time high in 2017, and then in December 2020 breaks it out right here. But you can see from the buy signal, which was on the 2nd of December, to the actual breakout, which was the 15th of December, it's about 2 weeks. Interesting. Just keep that number in the back of your mind's eye. We can go back to this one over here too. You get a capitulation signal right here. Would have been a career-ending move if you actually took that as a short, by the way. I mean, you literally shorted the bottom and never went lower. And I'm not so sure that it'll ever go lower than that, ever. Anyways, you should never say ever, but well, fair enough. I've learned my lesson with never say never. So you know what? I won't even say it. I won't even dare say it. It's like Voldemort. You don't fucking say it. Anyways, capitulation right here, and then you get your buy signal over here, and that is on the 11th of June. When do you break out? Well, you break out on the 25th of June. Interesting. That sounds about 2 weeks as well. Okay. All right. Let's go back and test a few more. Okay, we got one right here. Capitulation. This is like after the coronavirus dump lows, so to be fair, this is like terrible for actually timing the downside. On the other side though, we get the buy signal right here. Where's your next breakout? Right here. When was the buy signal? That was the 23rd of April. When is your breakout? That is the 28th of April. About 5 days. We can go back on over here. Capitulation signal right here. Trade sideways for a couple months. Get your buy signal right here on the 25th of December, and then break out on the 5th of January. That sounds about a week and a half. Very interesting. Then we can go back to 2019 and get the capitulation signal right here. This one actually timed a pretty fucking good move, to be fair, about a 50% drop off. And then you get the buy signal over here. That was on the 10th of January in 2019. When do you break out to the upside? Well, realistically, it's not until like April 1st. So that one, a little bit of an outlier on the other side, but relevant nonetheless, that taken about 2 months long. Anyways, I'll go through one more iteration right here because I don't want to bore you to fucking tears, but we get into the capitulation signal right here. Boom. You get your buy, you get your blue buy. Let's motherfucker zoom on in. You get your blue buy signal right here on the 29th of August. And then where's your breakout move? Your breakout move, technically speaking, is right here, which is actually not that far away. But I'd say on the 5th or 6th of September, the real breakout, however, is this baby over here, because that is actually a break in the range from what was this, January? Yeah, January. No, July. And that is in middle of October. So again, a little bit more time. Anyways, my point is that if you are referencing this right now, we haven't even got that blue buy signature just yet. And remember that even after the blue buy signature, on the lowest of the sides did take about, I think was 5 days to play out that next, actual breakout to the prior topside range. And on, on a more long schedule, I mean, like we saw like a couple months there, but the average was probably more or less like 2 weeks. So first things first, we actually have to, print one of those blue buy signals, then, probably wait about a week to 2 weeks, I'd say. And that's at the point where I do think that Bitcoin is a lot more likely to really get going. Anyways, with that said, that does make me bullish, coming out of this base right here. And do I think that Bitcoin has, do I think that it could be that Bitcoin does not go below this current low or maybe just retest this low? That's mostly what I'm thinking right now. I think that this market is just sideways here. I stick with what I've been saying in that regard. However, what I would change from last month to this month, granted our new information, is that I don't think that Bitcoin is going to enter into any sort of like a meaningful downtrend here. Meaning that even if Bitcoin does put in a lower high somewhere, maybe even where we're at right now, I don't think that Bitcoin's like coming down below 40,000 bucks. I think Bitcoin very, very likely would find its lows somewhere around here, which by the way, that's exactly where the Challenger bands are right now. And I do think that even in its current posturing, there's a lot of, there's a lot of good things going on right now. Now, admittedly, I fucking hate looking at these signals over the weekend. They are traditionally just terrible over the weekend, but fair enough. It is worth, looking at in the sense that, look, we got daily SMI, obviously losing all the momentum to the downside, looking for across the upside. In fact, it will obviously happen with any sort of a closure above 61,930. Now, that's pretty far away, to be fair. But even as crossing above the zero read, which is actually way higher than that. Okay, so fair enough. That's not happening today. We won't talk about it. Daily MACD already crossing the upside alongside a break of the 20 simple. Not bad. So we have a break in median structure plus momentum turning up. Okay, good. And we also have a DMI minus signal that has been completely faded now. ADX has gone into single digits, and the DMI plus has actually worked its way up to the threshold. I would say that the next signal fired on this very likely does get the next medium-term move. And in this case, if it did happen to the upside, a $60,000 target would be an obvious one. That's not even too far away from where Bitcoin is right now, being that it is about 2,000 bucks away. But would I extend that a little bit more, maybe to 62,000 bucks? Yeah, very possible. Very, very possible in this case. Anyways, going on over here, it should also be denoted that Bitcoin on CME on Friday closure, we did close with hidden bullish evidence confirmed. Not bad. Also getting back above the exponential on the RSI. I do like these things together. Also, on top of that, the TSI right here is right at the zero bias read. Now, technically speaking, it is a little bit below, but a lot of the time you do see a bit of drama around this region. And if you are going to turn around that region, usually those signals are good follow through signals, essentially. And in this case, that would imply a move back up 61.5 to 62,000 bucks. So fair enough on that one too. What about the buy daily? Well, we're still seeing the hidden bullish evidence that we identified on the last buy daily closure play out. But I'd say my sort of move on that already played out. Anything on top of that is kind of like icing on the cake. And then what do you know? On the 3-day, I believe we get a new one on the 5th of May. Let me just check my calendar here. That's going to be that's going to be Wednesday. Okay, that's not relevant to the conversation right now. Technically speaking, though, I would say that this is pretty much already confirmed this as a local low. And if that's been confirmed as a local low, then this would be confirmed as hidden bullish divergence. And if that is confirmed as hidden bullish divergence, then target's going to be 62,000 bucks. So fair enough on that one as well. Not bad. And then weekly, we've already kind of looked at this one. extremely close to confirming another low right here too. And this would be a higher low on the weekly as well. And on weekly, it looks a lot more like it did kind of test the 21 there, but fair enough. You know, if I had to kind of like summarize my thoughts right now, you know, it's like on one side, yes, I do think Bitcoin does very likely come back down somewhere around $50,000. On the other side, I don't think Bitcoin has a whole hell of a lot of downside below that. Now, we are dealing with big numbers here, and that is an $8,000 drop from where we're at currently. And I think Bitcoin even is showing a little bit of short-term, medium-term continuation to the upside, especially with the way that CME is closed on Friday. Now, that probably doesn't happen until early next week, but overall, you know, I'd more or less be on range watch for a little bit longer. And then from there, you know, probably still looking at continuation on this rally. I don't see any signals that the macro has stopped just yet. And in fact, if anything, I'm looking at continuation signals on the macro, both from a fundamental perspective and from a technical perspective. And also from a volatility perspective as well. I mean, volatility is a fucking technical. It blows my mind that some people think that like volatility based indicators are not technicals. They are fucking technicals. Jesus fucking Christ! Like how the hell can you get that one wrong? You know, it's. Anyways, conversation for another time, which is rather funny. It's always funny to see like you know, all of the internal strife between like different sort of trading styles. Look, if you like your trading style and you're profitable, who the fuck cares what someone else is doing? That I've never understood that. I've never fucking understood that. And that's one of the things that I love about the Discord. We got all kinds of guys with different strategies, which I don't use myself, but I can benefit from it, from understanding it. And hey man, you can trade the fucking 5 minute and be profitable in Bitcoin. Do I like to do that? No, not really. But is it right for me to go and tell someone else like, hey man, I see that you're trading the 5 minute in Bitcoin. You need to cut that shit out now. Because I'm your fucking, I don't know, because I'm your dad or some shit. I don't know. It's very, very strange behavior. I don't think that I think that most well-adjusted adult human beings probably don't give a fuck about that. But again, I'm getting off on tangents right now. Apologies for that. And let's get on with this over here. So let's check out how traditional markets close. Oh no, that's right. Okay, the one last thing. That's right. Let's give a shout out to Mr. Shubo over here. Hopefully I'm saying his name properly. And he called up the MVT signal, which was something that I used a lot. I used to use it like a lot back in 2018, 2019. And then I kind of let go of it for a while because it wasn't really acting as intended. But anyways, what is a little bit interesting right here is that we do see, and let me just make sure that I reference his actual message over here so that I get what he said right. Because I do want to give him credit for this because this was rather interesting. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's see. Yep. That. There, where the fuck did it go? Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, he's looking at something completely different. Oh, he's looking at the MVT Golden Cross in this case. Interesting. I'd actually have to look at that a little bit more, but That actually is really, really interesting. We do see that a lot of these spikes down on the MET, but fair enough. Your one is different than mine, to be fair. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm guessing you're getting that off of Willy Woo's site. But overall, these last few moves towards these spike lows have essentially been bought off. Is kind of the thing that he was postulating here. And he's been right throughout this whole rally. If you look at this spike right here, that's your low in December. If you look at this spike right here, that's your next low. If you look at this spike right here, next low, boom. Next low right here, next low right here, and then what do you know? We're back in that region once again on that move to about $48,000. So, typically speaking, all of those have been continuation lows. Fair enough on that one. Doesn't mean that we can't come back down and test it, just like you saw back on over here and over here and over here on these ones. That's this secondary low, that's this secondary low, and that's this secondary low. Very, very similar stuff, on that double base. But overall, he does bring up a very good point that all of those have been really, really good continuation signals, even though technically speaking, if you're just reading this straight up as the MVT signal, you'd be looking at that as kind of like the red zone, sell zone, essentially, like it's overdone. But we don't really see that interplay, especially within a macro bullish market. Problem is, I don't see the same thing. This is what I don't like about the MVT. I don't see the same consistent signals that you would expect to see in 2016 to 2018 over here In fact, the only signal that we get in 2018 is literally the high, so fair enough. That is a little bit more concerning to myself. Anyways, as it stands right now, let's go check out traditional markets, and then we'll wrap this, and then we'll send this bitch off. And ooh, Dixie bouncing, nice. Oh, let's check out Bitcoin dominance. I do want to see if that one's put in a low, because I do believe that it is, and that would be, again, indicative that, well, nope, it's not putting in a low. It's not putting in a low, man. No, this is a continuation for now. Let's see what the monthly looks like. Yeah, that's not a low. This thing's coming, oh, wow, this is making new lows, if anything. I'd be looking for this actually to come lower over the next couple of months. This is clear and obvious continuation. Now, I don't think that anything like indicator wise works on something like this, like a dominance chart. It's highly speculative to begin with, but if I did, I mean, that would obviously be a downside signal continuation. Even the jewel would be on the monthly continuation as well. And RSI has just been bearish the whole way through from this last high right here. Anyways, my point is that actually altcoins I'd still have to remain bullish on. Wow. Powerful. But if I'm going to be bullish on altcoins, at least for another like leg or something, then that would imply that Bitcoin more or less ranges. So again, I stick with what I've been saying here. I do think that Bitcoin is going to resolve this to the upside. I do think that Bitcoin probably maybe makes a stab towards 6 digits this year. I mean, it's very possible. It's reasonable to think, is what I'm saying. However, on the other side, I do think that this can be drawn out for a little bit longer. And, we've seen more or less an unabated run from like 10,000 to, what is it, 60,000 thus far, and no real pullbacks, no real tests. Like anyone who's bought within this region right here, anytime in like the last 5-6 months, you haven't really been tested. Some people like refer to this right here as a bear market. It's not a fucking bear market. A bear market is when you get a weekly downtrend like this. That's a bear market like this. For months and months and months, sometimes even years at a time. This is not a bear market right here in any way, shape, or form at all. I think people just refer to like bear market as like any sort of downside move. But yeah, I know that a lot of people are also looking at this as an inverted head and shoulders. I really dislike head and shoulders formations in Bitcoin land specifically. But would this work out? Yeah, it would work out, to be fair. Your neckline is going to be right around the 200 simple. Although, did the CME chart break it out? It did not. No, and it'd be the same sort of posturing as well. This one's a little bit less obvious here too. So I'm more inclined to say that this actually is not going to work out like that. But ultimately, the general idea kind of stands. All right, let's get on traditional markets and see what they closed the month at. And let's see what we got on Nasdaq over here. Nasdaq looking like continuation coming into next month. However, the daily not closing on, not bad. I mean, still just consolidating at a high level. This thing could easily come down to like 13.2 or 13.3, and I'd just be looking at that as a major opportunity. Long term, bullish. Short term, medium term, I'm less inclined on that. But monthly is very obviously bullish. Monthly RSI tells a story. Still that hidden bullish evidence kind of playing out here. And just continuation. Anyways, SPY, even more bullish. I still stick with my $4,200 plus targets, or 40, I think it was 43 actually. And Nasdaq, I still stick with, $15,000 target long term. And Dow Jones, not as impressive, but this one's very unlikely to reverse, while the other ones do not. In fact, when I go down to the daily, this one actually looks like a bouncing continuation right here. In fact, this one's really, really strong at a high level too. So I respect them all the way through. And again, that does bode well for Bitcoin long term. We see most of these markets essentially move together. It's not just, Bitcoin and traditional markets. It's everything in the world, basically. Save for like a couple like actual fucking scams here and there, but you have to like really be a piece of shit to not be rallying in this current environment. So I think with that said, it's time for me to send this baby off. Do we want to check out anything else? Maybe Ripple for some shits and gigs. Maybe some Doggy Coin really quick too. Let's see, 160 right here. Yeah, looking good short term. I still, where's XRPF command? Where are you, sir? You're probably getting rich as fuck right now. Is what you're doing. I'm still looking at this one to 285, probably in the next couple months here. Really fucking good chart for what it's worth. Whippy as hell, whippy as fuck, but good enough for now. Let's look at Doggy Coin too. I'm just out of curiosity. I suspect that this one's making new all-time highs, as we identified. Not new all-time highs just yet. Looking pretty damn good though. Let's see how the weekly looks. I'd be pretty confident saying that this one very likely still does go for about 50 cents. I not so sure about $1 still, but yeah, 50 cents I think is very much within the cards, probably this next month or two. Looking pretty damn good here out of that daily base as well. Could it come back down and base around, 27 and a quarter? Very easily, yes, but I'd be looking at that as an opportunity first and foremost. No reason to be bearish on this thing as long as it's above about 25 cents. Anyways, that's enough for me today. You've heard enough of my raspy lesbian voice. I probably know the shit out of you. And with that said, I want to wish you a happy and healthy rest of your Saturday. I'm going to be enjoying a Finnish holiday called May Day or Vapua. So huvar Vapua to all the Vapua celebrators out there. Sounds like a bad word or something. Happy Saturday, happy May 1st, happy whatever the fuck day it is for you and you're part of this universe. And with that said, take care and see you hopefully soon.